If you look at any joke or meme or even TV show that is in an office setting, you will find that the manager is often the butt of most jokes. In fact, there is a lot of content out there, innumerable Reddit threads where people are ranting about why they hate their managers so much. Begs the question, why are managers at the receiving end of so much negativity, jokes and hatred? Is it really because of something that they are lacking, or is it something that the organizations are missing in making them really effective? Let's close the loop on this one. Joining me on Close the Loop is Mridul Srivastava. Mridul is the Chief People Officer of Sham Spectra. Mridul, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Srini.
So Mridul, looks like nobody wants to be a manager today. They seem to be receiving a lot of negativity from everyone around. Why do you think that is?
Definitely, I think it's a lot of zings and myths around the being a manager. But look at in a different way what manager is all about. So in today's context, managers are just like a superheroes wearing these spreadsheet capes and wielding the PowerPoints objects in their hands. They have been dealing with a lot of human intricacies in between while they do work. I think in the office space, who would not like to make a joke around for a person who is keep preaching you, giving you the motivational doses, and also calling meetings about the meetings that what has happened in the past one and what is going to be happening in the new one. But with all humor, managers are the key person in the organization or the key conduit in the organization, which are actually driving the entire strategy of the organization and navigating it to the right direction. So that is what a manager for me, which I personally feel.
Right. But one thing I've observed is very few people grow their careers by remaining individual contributors. I think if you spend a certain amount of time, it's almost expected of you to be able to manage people. But do you think that we make a mistake in taking everyone and saying that, okay, you've hit a certain number of years of experience, now you need to start managing people? Does the problem really start there?
Definitely. Everybody can be an individual contributor but can't be a manager, or vice versa also. All managers can't be a great individual contributor but can be a great managers too. Mm-hmm. We all like sports, right? And MS Dhoni, everybody's fan, is all about. But you will look at his style of leadership in the cricket ground. He has been known for smashing the sixes to the boundaries, and he is a great match finisher. But beyond an individual contributor, he has always been a great manager or a team leader for the Indian cricket team when he was playing it. He was known for his ability to know what's happening on the ground, what kind of shot a player is going to be playing, and also what kind of decision making he has to do in the unfavorable conditions.
Right.
And I think that's what a manager is all about. Being an individual contributor may give you a great success in your individual careeristic, but until unless you don't know the interpersonal intricacies and the way how to be empathize with the people, it's difficult to become a manager.
Correct.
And that's what it differentiates between an individual and a manager is all about.
But in the way we choose people to become managers, it's like, again, using the sports analogy, many times teams say, okay, you're the best player, so you become the captain. Which normally doesn't always, a good player doesn't necessarily become a good captain. So is there some change that we need to bring in the way we are even recruiting people to be managers?
And absolutely right. Not necessarily, as I said, that an individual contributor can be a great manager. You need to actually give him a lot of different inputs to become a great manager, right? Mm-hmm. It is just like you want to create a great recipe. You need to have a good ingredients with you to make a person great manager. Until unless somebody is not having an approach towards accountability, alignment with the company objective, delegation, development approach towards his team, empathy, inclusiveness towards getting a team together and driving a common agenda, a bit of humor, knowing when to reward, what to reward, right? I think these are some of the important elements of being a great manager. Okay. And when you are selecting an individual to become a manager, it is important for you, either you evaluate all of these competencies around, or you create a charter for him to get on those competencies over the period of time and then start reflecting some of these in his behaviors.
How
And
many
then
of
only
these
you
things can be
expect.
taught? I mean, you mentioned some very relevant things, but can these be taught to a person?
Uh, I would say not all. Few are uh, inbuilt in a human being, right? The way you have been brought up in your childhood days, or how in what kind of circumstances you have been. So that really gives you a lot of leadership styles. But yes, many of them can be taught also, right? For example, if I say delegation can be very easily taught about it. Accomplishment is something which one can't teach about it. That is something which comes naturally in you. Empathy again comes naturally, but yes, you can really, with a conscious set of mind, you can make your behaviors towards creating more empathy when you take decisions around it. So these are a mix of both the individual personalities inborn and obviously some training and coaching methods, how you can build a better manager over the period of time.
So one of the things I was doing as a research for this episode, so I just Googled, why do people hate their managers? It's just so the first article was a Harvard Business Review article, right? Then of course there are lots of Quora threads and Reddit threads. I think one thing that came out is something to do with becoming micromanaging and becoming a control freak. So you spoke about delegation and you spoke about developing others. Do you feel like when a person becomes a manager, they also don't know like when to let go and what to hold on to? Do you find that that's often a challenge? One of the basic challenges that they face.
Definitely. As I said, that managership is like a very, very unexplored territory, right? And you keep encountering one or the other hurdle when you are on the job, when you are performing that role. Most of the times, if you are not able to make a balance between an approachability and adaptability, you tend to get in a very odd situation, right? And often you fall in the trap of either a micromanagement or not being empathetic about the person whom we are dealing with.
Right.
There starts the problem, right? That you are not able to take right decisions, or you are not able to get the productivity out of the person, or at the end of the day you are missing the targets.
Right.
Right. So in a nutshell, again, it's an ability of, or rather I should say it's an art, that how you make a balance of all of these things, right? I talked about 6-7 competencies which makes a manager better manager. So if you're making a balance of all of that and then consciously taking a decision towards that, I think being a manager is not a very, very rocket science. One can definitely become a better manager.
Right. And how much of training budgets do you think companies are spending in developing managers? I see companies spending budgets on the two ends of the spectrum. One is they do the leadership development, and the other is they do the technical skills and all of that. But in between, for the managers, they probably have some programs for first-time managers. But that's about it. I don't see them sort of walking them through how to become better across those 7 or 8 competencies. Do you find that to be true across the industry?
Yes, I think, Srini, there's a lot of changes which has happened post-COVID, right? And especially when we are living in an era where is multi-generational people are being managed by a manager, right? Gone those days when you were at, or somebody was at 50 and then he had just youngsters in front of him as a manager. Today, you being a manager is managing maybe around 50s person also.
You can be managing someone older than
older than you also, and maybe the millennials which is coming in the picture, which is a very different species altogether as compared to Gen Z, Gen Y, or Gen X also. It becomes utmost important to invest more towards the managerial capability, because the traits of a manager has also changed completely over the period of time. In today's context, managing that multi-generational workforce, manager needs more ability to handle such situations. And hence, the training investment has also shifted a lot, right? As you rightly said, in earlier days, there were two extremes. Either it's a leadership development or probably a first-time manager, or max on the technical side of the trainings where the investment used to happen. But now, I think organizations and leaders are more conscious, knowing that manager is the utmost conduit in the entire supply chain or the ecosystem of an organization. And investing in the managers is a very, very important, and obviously with the changing context.
And the other change that has taken place now is we are living in the era of mental health. I think there's a lot of awareness about mental health issues, especially in the workplace. And even there, I think a lot of people are feeling very stressed by managers, and they quote managers as being one of the biggest causes of mental health issues. Plus, we are also living the era of diversity and inclusion. So there is a lot of gender diversity, even age. You said there are so many generations of people working together. So what should we add to managers' training to make them more sensitive to the diversity aspects as well as the mental health aspects?
I think that's a great question, and in the changing dynamics, as you rightly said, that DEI and mental well-being is becoming again a top priority for the organizations to focus towards that. And as I said, managers are the biggest conduit in driving the whole ecosystem of the organization. It becomes again important for them to realize about DEI and the mental well-being. Some of the initiatives around that, if you talk about what most of the organizations are doing, I think most of the organizations has adapted coach for the managers now, right? Who are actually giving them insights about that why mental well-being is important for an organization. And there are clear matrices also around that. If a organization having a good mental well-being versus not good so mental well-being, what is the difference in the performance and the productivity, right? Similarly, for the DEI also, I think over the period of time, it has been proven that, especially on the gender side of the diversity, if you have a more female-centric organization, it gives you better productivity. But I think the context of diversity has going beyond just gender, gender, right? Age I talked about, ethnics or race, or even there is a neurodiversity which is coming also in the picture. So that's also a very interesting element. But for me, more important is the inclusion, right? Because most of the organizations tend to forget about the inclusion and only focus about diversity.
Right.
For me, it's a reverse. Until unless you are not more focused towards inclusion and you keep harping on the diversity, probably you will not be able to achieve your objectives. But if you become more inclusive, diversity automatically follows that.
And finally, if I were to ask you for one piece of advice that you would want to give managers in 2024, in the times that we live in, if that one thing that they should do differently, what would that be as compared to the past?
I think for me, being an authentic manager is the most important, right? First and foremost, you need to evaluate yourself and understand that what kind of competencies you yourself have, right? Because most of the times we tend to role model somebody else, and we forget that what kind of inner, personalities which we have, and then we try to imitate somebody else. Instead of that, if we build upon our own, strong fundamentals which we already have over the period of time, and then see that what else is needed for you to become a better manager. I think that's more important.
So a lot of self-reflection is required.
A lot of self-reflection is required in that whole process to understand that how you characterize as a manager, right? And then further build upon it and see that what is the need of change in you, and what is something which is a core strong part for you, and then you can continue to be on that.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Mridul, for your views, and I'm sure that HR teams, founders, CEOs, and managers who tune into our show will definitely appreciate your views.
Thank you so much, Srini, for having me on the show, and it was a pleasure interacting with you. Your questions were really so thought-provoking that it will help me to give you better answers.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.